Okay, great. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another one of these career talk series. Today, one of my coworkers and friends from my regular day job at Google, Vinaya, is here, and she's going to talk to you all about the wonderful world of UX. So, Vinaya, I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. So as Alex said, I'm a UX designer at YouTube. And today I want to talk to you about what UX is and also my path to a career in design. So what is UX? UX goes by many other names like product design, interaction design, UI design. They're all about the same things, but they have some nuanced differences. But user experience design is really building products or designing products to be intuitive to people. For example, your phone or the apps on your phone don't really come with a user manual, but you just know how to use it. And that's because they've been designed to be intuitive products. So, another example could be that you're on a shopping website and you just know where to look for a search bar or the menu bar. And that's because there are standard UX practices that, when applied to products, they make them very easy to use. So a UX designer would be someone who's an expert who's in these UX practices. So why is user experience important? It's because it tries to fulfill the user's needs. For example, on a shopping website, your need would be to shop to buy a product. So um, we a user experience designer will fulfill these users' needs and aim to provide a positive experience that can keep you loyal to a product or brand. Okay, so let's meet the user. So as a UX designer, you are focused on how the user will interact with your product. So it's really important to understand what the needs are and who your users are and what they expect from your product. You will be the biggest advocate for the user's needs as well as the user's experience on your product. We can learn a little bit better, I think, through a case study at YouTube Premium. This is actually a project that Alex and I worked on together at YouTube. So just to give you a bit of context on what Premium is, if you don't know, it is a monthly subscription that gives you ad-free YouTube, as well as unlimited downloads, background play, and a subscription to YouTube Music. So like every subscription business in the world, YouTube Premium also has to deal with cancellations. So many members cancel their subscription every day, and this is the flow that they use when they cancel. So going through this quickly, you'll see once you decide to cancel, we ask you, why are you canceling? And then you choose one of these options on the left. And then we ask you, are you sure you want to cancel? Because you're going to lose all these cool benefits if you cancel your membership. And you say yes. And then finally, we tell you you're canceled and your benefits will be available until the end of your month. So this flow is a little bit outdated. So we wanted to improve this overall experience. And now, as a UX designer who cares about the user's needs and the user's experience, you might think that I would just design a big red button that says cancel and then call it a day, right? Because as soon as you click it, it cancels your membership, it fulfills your needs, it's big and you can see it and it does the job. But it's not so simple. What you have to do as a UX designer is, especially if you're employed in a company, is that you need to strike a balance between what the users need and what the business needs. And in this case, the users want to cancel their subscription and the business don't want you to cancel their subscription. So you need to do a bit more work here to identify what the real problem is and how to really solve it. So as a UX designer who is aware of UX standard practices, I can already identify some like glaring issues with this flow. It's really easy to click outside and lose your modal altogether, exit the flow. It's also kind of hard to read, like there's so many words and nothing's really, pulling your eye or focusing you in any way. There's also no idea how many steps you're going to go through. Also, the size of these modals change. So each time you have to look for the button where it is. So there's those problems. Plus, what you might know about the user, because they're in the cancel flow, is that they might be slightly annoyed at this time because they're canceling a service. They're probably not happy about the service or not happy that they don't have the money to pay for it or, any such thing. So you don't want to make them more annoyed at this stage. And a piece of data that I have access to is that many users cancel in their first month of being with Premium. So they likely don't really know the product very well or haven't really used it very much. So given all of this information as our guide, we've redesigned the flow like this. And now what we're doing is in this first step, instead of telling users that, all the benefits they're going to lose, we're going to show them instead all the benefits that they're losing. We're saying you watched over 100 hours of ad-free video. You've used all of these benefits, but you also haven't used some benefits. So we will encourage them to try to use some of these. Some other issues we fixed is adding a page title to make things easy to read, having a progress indicator that tells you how many steps there are, also giving you clear actions to go back and move forward. Also just overall reduce the text to make it easy to read. And also in the last step, add some delight would be the wrong word, but really want to show them that you care about them. So saying we're sorry to see you go goes a long way. So this design meets the user's goals by making the flow easy and straightforward, but also making it clear what benefits they're going to lose if they cancel. But it also met the business's needs by reducing cancellations, but also getting more people to answer the survey so we can improve the product for the next time around. So to summarize that design process, we had to study the user, really understand them, their frame of mind in the time of entering the cancel flow, understand the problem that we have to solve, not necessarily making it difficult to cancel, but not making it super easy to breeze through the flow. Also do some research to make sure that we understand the problem correctly. Then we go into designing solutions. Then we do more research to understand if our designs actually solve the problem. And then we build it and we launch it and we measure it and then we iterate over this whole process again. So I know this sounds like a lot, but you're definitely not doing this alone. You have a full product team by you. A typical product team will have a UX designer, UX researcher, product manager, and a team of engineers. So you're all in this together. And then now I want to talk a little bit about my path to UX, which is not.
Can I jump in and ask a question, Vinaya?
Yeah.
And probably anyone else. Are you okay with other people asking questions too during the?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if anyone else has questions, go ahead and you can put them in chat or say it out loud. But can you talk a little bit about the difference between graphic design and UX design? Or like, is that a separate role at Google? What is that part of something you do?
Yeah. So graphic design is just pure design, which is making the images, creating a style guide, a look and feel for your whole website or product or whatever you're doing. So a graphic designer would typically come in and select the colors. They're basically doing the very top layer of design. So to get a job at a product company as a graphic designer, you typically have to have some product experience. Otherwise, you can get into visual design. That's the natural progression for a graphic designer to go into visual design. So at YouTube, you might look for a job at the art department or in the branding team. Whereas in interaction designer, what you're doing is creating the information architecture, creating flows, making sure that the content in each step makes sense, applying standard UX practices. Like I said, have to be well versed in that. A nice to have is extra, graphic design experience. So if you're an interaction designer that can do both graphic design and interaction design, that's mostly called like a product designer or interaction designer. The names really don't matter. But if you wanted to become a product designer, there are many different avenues. You actually have that in here. Yeah. You can either get a human computer interaction degree, or you can do computer science and you can get some design experience. That was the path that I took. Or you can be a graphic designer and you can get some product experience, like working in an agency or working in product companies. And over time, you develop interaction design experience along with what you have as a graphic designer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks. And does anyone else, Brandon, Jared, Shemaya, do you guys have any questions yet? Maybe not. Okay, maybe for later.
Cool. So my path into UX was kind of funky, but I started as a computer science student and I did bachelor's in India. And when I moved to Boston, I moved for computer science master's. And then immediately switched my major to information systems because I realized midway that I did not want to be a software developer. And so I took management subjects like risk management, change analysis, all kinds of things like that. And then my first job into UX design was actually at Sea Change, where at Northeastern we used to have a yearly career fair. And there was only one job that was not the software engineer job, which was the UX engineer. That day I went and learned about what UX was and did the interview, got the job. I think it's easier to get a job in UX through school, actually. But anyway, did that for 8 months. That was still not enough experience to get a full-time job in design. So I did a contract position at Kronos. I did 6 months there, and then got my first full-time design job at a marketing agency called Isobar, also in Boston. And then since then, I've just been doing a bunch of product design in paperless post, intercom, and then finally YouTube. And then I talked to you about what skills you might need to get into a design career, but also in terms of the design tools that you might want to familiarize yourself with. You have Figma, you have Sketch, you have the whole Adobe suite or Illustrator. But honestly, these design tools like change all the time. In my career, I've had to like learn 4 different tools. So you just have to be good at learning about new tools. Prototyping also looks amazing in a designer's portfolio. Prototyping tools like Principle and InVision don't require coding. But if you can do coded prototypes, that's fantastic also. Finally, I'll end with the best advice that I was given to be a designer is to be, number 1, product minded. So you should learn what makes good products by observing your favorite apps or your favorite websites and really think about why you like or don't like what you see or certain interactions that you see. So oftentimes in design interviews, you'll be asked for your thoughts on a certain app or a website. So it's good to start developing this muscle right away. And next is to get good mentors. So I feel lucky to have mentors that have really shaped my career and they continue to do so. But find someone who has a job that you really want, and you can look them up on LinkedIn and ask them for advice, or even get them to review your portfolio and poke holes in it so you can make it better. And lastly is, it's kind of a duh if you want a career in design, to get a really great portfolio going, because it's required to get any job in design. But you need to accumulate case studies, either college projects or work experience to put in your portfolio, which I understand is really difficult when you're in school. So what you can start with to, to train that muscle is to redesign your favorite apps. Like say you love Spotify, you listen to it every day. If you have a idea to make Spotify better, create that design and put it in your portfolio, and write your rationale for the redesign and get good at storytelling. So that's it. That's everything. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. That's my email, and I can answer any questions or help you in any way. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vinaya.
Mhm.
Questions? I see. Okay, we have a good audience. We're up to 5. I was,
Yay!
yeah. Does anyone have any questions? I have questions for Vinaya, but I'll let others go first.
Hi, Vinaya. My name is Jared Washington. I'm a senior finance major from Howard. Thank you
Hi.
for the presentation. I know as a business student, I haven't had much interaction with the tech side, but UX and UI is something I'm definitely interested in. I was wondering, when there's like a discrepancy between maybe like a new change that's implemented and what the user respond to that, like how you like UX designers I guess go about making a decision. Like to be a little more specific, I think I know at one point I think YouTube changed like where the comment section was located or a feature with that, and I know there was I guess initially maybe some pushback from the users, but then I guess people said they liked it. So like I was wondering like what the relationship is between like the expert implementation and then if the user feedback doesn't always match what like was expected.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, YouTube has this problem more than anybody else because it's such an old product. But if you look at TikTok, there's such a new product. There's like 5 features, and it's so easy to change them. Yeah, it's kind of a tough one because I think YouTube does a lot to protect, because it is so far reaching and not everybody is technically savvy that's using YouTube. So you can't really change the really core experiences at YouTube. But it's a struggle. Every time we change something, we have to have some kind of product education. So we focus a lot on like introducing the new feature to someone. In some cases, um, yeah, it's we use tooltips. It's not the best. It's not the best paradigm to introduce a new feature, but I think if I were designing something that would change the core of YouTube, I would start with like an introduction or an email explaining the change and why we're doing it, and try to keep the paradigms as close to home as possible.
I see.
Let me
Thank you.
add a little more color. Jared, do you have a guess why we made that change? So for anyone who's wondering, the thing Jared's talking about is how it used to get to the comments on mobile, you would watch your video and you would scroll down all the way to the bottom. There'd be recommended videos, and then the comments would be below that. And then suddenly YouTube decided, actually, we're going to put them right under the video and put recommended underneath. And it's really annoying because everyone is used to, you have this habit of scrolling to get to the comments, and then you would start scrolling, you would get to the bottom, they're not there anymore. Then you have to scroll back up. So people were annoyed. Jared, do you have a guess why they did that? Give me a guess.
Right. I thought it was for two reasons. They actually, I'm not just saying this because you guys are working. They actually made sense because like, you can see the recommended video, so it keeps, I think, people on the app longer, and you can get your recommended video just by scrolling down. But then also, I know if you're watching a video, just because of the nature of YouTube, like, you probably want somebody to opt into reading the comments because if there's like any material on there that they wouldn't want to see, or I know the comment section can be, like depending on the video, could like maybe provoke emotion. So I think keeps like the user flow better because you can just go down and see the video, but also you want somebody to prompt into actually reading the comments. So it makes sense, but I just know that there's like blowback for some reason. I don't know why.
That's a great, like, I didn't work on this change, but that sounds like a great explanation. Another thing that you can think about is also what metrics you want to optimize, what we want to think about. And so one thing is like, we want to show users, YouTube's really good at recommending videos, but by putting the comments at the very bottom, we had to have a maximum number of videos we could give you, like,
that was right.
because you'd have to get to the comments below the videos. So by putting the comments above, we could now have an infinite stream of recommended videos that you keep scrolling down and keep showing more and more recommended videos until you find something you like. And so there's all these pushes and pulls of like metrics of like, okay, we want to show more videos so users are more likely to find something that they like. And so we make design decisions based on that. I don't know, Vinaya, do you have any comments on that? Anything you want to add?
No, the changes are necessary, right? Otherwise we'll be left behind in the dust with, all these new products. So change is a very necessary thing. But to your point about like how you introduce that change to someone who knows and loves your product and knows how to use it, especially with accessibility, if you were just used to a certain thing, say you were a blind person using YouTube, it would be very difficult to get used to a new feature and new change. So it is something that we think about and take quite seriously, actually.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
More questions? What is Bison Web?
Oh, you don't want to see it, Vinaya.
It's the website. It's the website students have to use to basically do everything. And when I tell you just opening it is the most, I don't know who designed it. Like, I don't know.
You know what? You should just do it as a, fun, like, class project. I don't know, a UX project to redesign it, make it better, whiteboard it out. Are you guys like going to a classroom? No, you're not. You're taking these from home. Right?
For small classes they are, but my class is 100. It's larger, and so we can't have it be in person. It's too big.
Yeah, cool.
Brandon, I saw you unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. You talked about like all your user experiences with like UX design, how you did like 8 months and then another 6 months. So pretty much, would you recommend that we do freelancing? Because I know a lot of computer science people, they do a lot of freelancing and work for people and just get hired. So would you recommend a lot of freelancing experiences for a product designer in order to build that experience, even if you don't work at a company?
Yeah, that would be really, anything you can do to be around designers and absorb what they do, and also like try and get as much experience as possible. This is one of those fields like you need a great portfolio to get a job, but you need a job to get a portfolio. It's like really funny. So freelancing. What I did was there's these I don't know if they still have them. I graduated a million years ago. They used to have these agencies where you could get like a 2-month contract position or 6-month contract position, and it would be like at a company. So the agency would fix you up with some company, and you could just do something for like 2 months, 3 months, but you learn a lot because it's a high pressure environment. You're getting paid by the hour, so they really put you to the grind, but it's a good way to get some experience.
Thank you.
What would you say is the most difficult part of the whole process when you're trying to design something new?
Yeah, actually, I'll be frank with this one. So normally when you're, as a designer, you're sitting with the problem and you're like trying to come up with solutions like yourself on your own. Or you might have a whole design team and you might debate it internally. And then you finally come up with maybe one option that you really like and another option just to give choice. And then you present it to leadership or your team. And then if you were like Alex, It would ask you a lot of questions on how you arrived at this solution, and you have to like recount your whole path on how you arrived at the solution. And I think just selling that idea um, it's an important skill to have as a designer, not just to be able to design, but also to be able to talk about why that design solves a problem, and also just to sell it to leadership and to sell it using nice slides. And you're selling constantly as a designer, because even your portfolio is selling what you can do. So you have to be really good at that. I don't think I'm so good at that. That's like a new skill that I'm trying to like master, you know. That I think is the hardest part.
Yeah, so like especially I feel like everyone has an opinion on stuff, and
Yeah.
so so sometimes when I like has to go and she comes up with an idea for our cancel flow project, but then like you have to get buy-in from other people that are, you know, there's lots of people working on all these different parts of YouTube, and it's all within this one app. It's not a lot of space, and so you have to get other people to believe in what you're doing. And I'm Vinaya much better at this, and she has to do this much more. But like, yeah, it's nice if they feel like they came up with the idea, or that there's just different ways
Yeah.
you can get people to kind of buy into your idea.
The funny thing, it's like you said, everybody has an opinion. Design is a very easy thing to have an opinion on, you know? You see something, you can be like, I don't like this, or oh God, why are you using that color? And so when you use something, you have to be very intentional, but it's also so subjective. It's difficult to be intentional, and you sometimes just have to make a decision and move forward. But and you get stuck if people start asking you, you know, why each thing, you know, how you arrived at each decision. That would be a very difficult thing. So you have to really polish up your presentation and say, this is why I do everything. And then, yeah, that's an important skill to have.
Um, I want.
Sorry if you can hear my husband is on a meeting next to me.
I'm sorry, Jared. Did you? I saw you on mute. Did you have a question?
Oh, I did, but I wanted to make sure everybody else had a chance to ask before.
Go for it.
Okay. Another question I have, Vinay, and I guess Alex, you can jump in here too. I know like sometimes projects have scope from a cost and maybe time perspective. So I was wondering the drivers from like a UX perspective, like what would increase maybe cost or time? Would it be like the complexity of the design? Are there certain elements of UI, like if it takes longer to research? Like what would be the drivers from like a cost perspective, and that might take a project over budget or take a project out of scope from a time perspective?
What a great question. Yeah, most times, you know, anything you nice you want to do typically has a cost associated with it. Any personalization has a lot of cost. I know that for the cancel flow, getting people's data and showing it to them, that was a huge cost.
Mm.
Because before we would just say, hey, you're going to lose your benefits.
You
But
have like a generic list of the benefits.
yeah.
I see.
Um,
That's interesting.
and now we were pulling in personal data, we were showing them their usage, we were also linking them into using some of the benefits that they haven't used before. So that was a really costly screen, but we had a lot of faith in the design that that was going to make the impact. Because other than that big change, nothing else is really changing except the look of the flow. But we really wanted to yeah, make that flow personal, really get people to care a little bit more about what they were, the product that they had access to. So with lots of approvals, we finally got the go ahead to launch that screen. So that was a really expensive one, but it paid off at the end.
All right.
But
Thank you.
also anything, sure. Also anything that's like motion design or animation, these things are really great things to have, but there is also time and place. Like you don't want some jazzy cancel flow, but you do want a jazzy onboarding flow or a landing page that's like really exciting and very cool. So you have to think about like where it's okay to have that cost, And in a place like TensorFlow, you might just want to have, in fact, people were even resistant to change the old one because it was working. Like, why do you want to make this better? Like, we were afraid of like more people canceling if it made it too easy to cancel.
Right.
So you have to think about the cost and where it's appropriate to spend that for the user.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's interesting. Also, the cost, like the return on investment too, you said, from maybe less people canceling, showing information. So thank you. That's really helpful.
No problem.
I don't know if Alex has something to say, but I just wanted to ask, like, can you explain? So the way like design and UX design interviews go, is it the same as coding interviews where it's like basically like a test, or is it how is
The
it?
interview process? The interview
Yeah.
process, I think it's the longest of any other role actually. So first what they do is they review your portfolio. Someone will send you an email saying, hey, do you have a portfolio? So you send it to them, they review it. Then they tell you, you need to do a design exercise. So for Google, I was given a design exercise to do. They give you whatever, 2 days or something to, they tell you don't spend more than 10 hours, but of course you spend like 100 hours because it's Google and you want to do well. So they'll give you like a vague question, like design an app to do this, to like schedule your appointment at the doctor or something. And so you, based on your experience, you might design all these great features and like make like a really cool app. And or if you're a graphic designer, you would really focus on making the app really cool looking. Or if you were a motion designer, you might like add like, I don't know, some kind of animation in it. So depending on your skill, you will have a different sort of answer to that design exercise. And that will be judged. And then they will finally call you in for an interview. In the interview, normally they focus on like a work experience and how you work with your roles, like how do you work with engineers, how do you work with PMs, that type of thing. But nobody asks you like verbally questions about UX practices, like where do you think, I don't know, what do you think a landing page should look like? No, I don't think they do that. And sometimes they want to, like I mentioned about app critique. Some companies will tell you, okay, open your phone and go into Spotify and critique the app for me. So you'll have to do that live. I think that's quite stressful, actually. I really hate when people put you on the spot like that. But yeah, those are all the things that I've seen in my experience.
Okay,
You guys have such good questions. Like, these are really great questions. Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, I see. I think Brandon has another one.
Going off of the same interview process, because you mentioned that you pretty much have to like design an app. Do you have to like think in depth, like let's say the user hits this section of the app, would you also have to design what that section would look like after they hit it? So pretty much like a whole loop of what everything would look like, or is it just like the front end, like what they will see as soon as they do it?
Yeah, it all, typically. But you know, it's challenging in ways. Like, I'm in this position where I'm designing the onboarding experience for YouTube. But okay, how do you make this? Okay, so let's say I'm designing the landing page, but you just can't, as soon as you click the button on the landing page, you would go to the buy flow, which is designed by a totally different team. And then you finish the finish purchasing, and then you go into the product, and that is designed by a totally different designer. But as a user, you're going through all of those things in a succession, like within seconds, you're seeing each screen one behind each other. So you kind of want to partner with those designers and make sure that the whole flow looks seamless. So even if you're handing off to another team, you kind of have to match the designs and make sure, you know. Or what I've done in my team right now is ask for permission to redesign their stuff because they don't have the time to do it. So then I end up doing the full flow. And even for cancel flow, you see that whole, from the moment you hit cancel to the when you're fully canceled, that whole flow was designed by me. That's the best when it's designed by one person, the whole thing. Then it feels unified and, feels cohesive.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. There, I think we'll give Vinaya a quick round of applause for coming to speak to us. Thank you, Vinaya.
Oh, thank you.
And I think you shared your email there, right?
Yeah, my email is vinayab@google.com. It's in my. Can you just share it with your class? And I'm happy to answer any design questions or career questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vinaya.